How you doing, fellas? So, still slogging away on the truck, but I'm making progress. Yesterday, I got the want to change the shock. I bought new shocks for it, just some Monroe Magnum or something or other. But I thought, well, while I've got the fender off, I could take the fender liner off. Then it'd be easier to change the spring, because I did buy some lowering springs for the front, and I bought a shackle for the back, so it's supposed to lower the rear like 3 inches in the front 2 or something like that. It's just kind of like one of them splurge things, because it does sit up really high, and never been a fan of lowered like super slam trucks, but this is kind of in the middle, so I think it'll help it look a little better, probably handle somewhat better. And then so I thought, well, if I got the fender off, I take the fender liner off, it'll be easier to get the spring out. So I looked online about taking the spring out, and what I saw was kind of a odd thing, because the spring sits up in this cup right here, and they were fishing a socket or a wrench down between the coils to get that out. And I thought, man, that seems like a convoluted way to do it. So then I looked some more this morning, and I found one where the guy's like, just loosen the top, you pull this little tab off of here that holds it. You have to pardon the wires. And then you pop the spring out, and then you can feed a socket and an extension down to the bottom. So when I first got the truck, I put, I got a squirt bottle of Marvel Mystery Oil and brake fluid and ATF, and that's what I used to put on here. Some bike riders. We get a lot of them through the neighborhood because it's pretty quiet and out of the way. But I need to pry it out, like I said, and feed the socket in there instead of trying to cram the socket in there. It's a 29mm socket. So I went to looked online. Home Depot had one, so I went and got it. Then I was in O'Reilly's getting a different cable for the alternator, and then I saw axle nut thing set. So I had him check, and it had a 29mm in there, so I can, yeah, like that. So I can use that, and I can take back that $12 socket that I'm only going to use this one time to O'Reilly or Home Depot. It was. Lowe's didn't have any. So that's it. I've been, like I said, I got all these out, cleaned up. I've still got to put some sealant in a couple of places where it's got some cracks, and got in there as best I could, made a mess, made myself look like a tin man last night. So I'm going to put some sealant on some of these places where it's cracked, like down in here, some body sealant, and then I'll paint over it today. Should be able to get all that done today, I think, and then start putting it back together. So it's quite a mess. I'm sure the neighbors love it. But we're in the home stretch, I hope. We'll see what hopefully no troubles get in our way, and we'll get this done. All right, appreciate you. Next one's coming up. All right, guys, so it's off. That was fun, about a quarter turn at a time. But the hitting it with the oil, the Marvel Mystery Oil, and automatic transmission fluid, I think helped. I think there's a little bit of brake fluid in there too, because it kind of creeps in real good. So that's off. I just blasted the innards there with a rattle can. These are the springs that are Belltech 4800, and it's a 2-inch drop on the front. And then the shackles I got are a 2-inch drop also, so it's just an even 2-inch drop front and rear. I don't have to notch the frame or put different control arms or nothing like that on there. So it's just a real easy, relatively easy, I should say, lowering deal. JDM on the back, and then, like I said, Belltech in the front. They don't look any lower, but it must be like a progressive rate spring. You can see the coils on the bottom, or actually that's the top, are closer together than the factory ones. So I think that's where it lowers it up some. So anyway, That side's off, and I'll get her back on and then get on the other side. All right, catch you on the next one. All right, guys, so got the one side done. You can see it's got a little bit of a lean to it, like so. 2 inches, which, like I said, is hugely noticeable, but it's also going to be a little easier on a tire than having something really low. So it'll be all right. And I get 2 inches out of the back. Should have the same sort of rake and all that, just a little bit lower. All right, got to get on to the next one. Just catching the next clip. Happy Columbus Indigenous Peoples whatever day. So this side is done. I forgot what I did yesterday, but the wiper motor and this blower motor resistor are being replaced. This just doesn't work at all, and mice been all humping on that thing, so that's getting tossed. If this worked, I'd just put a beer can over the top of it and call it good, but it don't work at all. Nothing. So, and the new one is like 50 bucks with all the bracket and the swinging arm and all that stuff. So I just got a new one instead of monkeying with that. This is what I cut out of down here. I welded in I fused in a new piece. It looks every bit as bad from back here as it does up close, if not worse. But at least it's one solid piece. At first I wondered why did it rust down here. There's some rust in there too, but I ain't even gonna try tackling that. Then I remembered the battery sits here, so that's a feature on the brain. If Rod would ever show it, I know it's on the other side, but like the whole subframe up front is gone on that side. So he's bolted in a piece of angle aluminum. It's quite creative. He'll have to show that sometime. And the shock and the spring is on, and I forgot to or didn't realize it yesterday, but if you see down in there that bolt way down on the bottom, if you leave the spring in, because the first time I pulled this off and then I pulled the spring out and then tried to undo the nut with a 29mm socket and a couple of 1/2-inch drive extensions. When you swing it out, it's harder to get it undone. But if you leave it here and just stick your socket down that hole, it's a little easier because it's stabilized. But still, I've got a 1/2-inch drive DeWalt cordless impact, and with a big battery on it, still couldn't break it. So I'm using a breaker bar with a 1/4 turn at a time, giving it the heave ho. It's a lot of work. I was feeling it last night and this morning. But something I forgot to point out yesterday, he had new brakes, new rotors, new brake lines, I imagine front and back, put on. He said he spent 3,000 bucks at the garage to get it running. They didn't do such a good job, but I mean, it is running. So it didn't have a thermostat, a couple hoses weren't on right. They were trying to get rid of a overheating problem, but like I said, the radiator hose was on wrong, the thermostat bypass hose wasn't on right. It's just a lot of issues, but they got it running. So then I was able to get it, whether or not that's good or bad. But so now I just got to put the fender liner on, the inner fender liner, and the fender itself. And down in here, I don't know if I'll be able to see this. Let me see. Down there, that's where that little boot was. And then it's probably trying to focus. I can't. Anyway, if you see just to the left of that, there's a couple little holes I opened up so it could drain faster, and then I drilled a hole just to make sure it had some way to drain. And then I put the rust killer and some paint over the top of it, so hopefully it should never have any issues. And then I also put that rust killer up in here. I just got to clean it back out and put some paint on it, because that stuff is not UV protected. So anyway, that's what I'm going to get to next. Get this wrapped up. I'll put her on interwebs and and see what kind of shenanigans we've been up to. So I guess that's about it. Appreciate y'all watching this garbage, and I really want to get this done so I can work on a Mustang. I feel a lot more at home on them than this thing. It's sometimes been fighting me, but we'll get there. All right, appreciate y'all. Later on.